information you want to know. You do a out of the blue, hey, let's look at each other's phones. I saw this TikTok where this guy was like doing this loyalty test and they swap phones. Let's do that. Or just ask to borrow her phone for a minute and see what happens.
This seems so messy to me. That's why I would just be like, have the conversation and based on their response, be like, all right, well, you don't value this relationship.
If they don't know it's coming and you say, hey, can I look at your phone? How they respond to that in those few critical seconds will tell you all the information you need to know.
Beyond the perfect we discover, through our flaws we complete each other. Better than perfect we stay, through every fault we find our way.
All right, welcome back to the Better Than Perfect podcast, where every week we show you how two imperfect people helping each other equals one better than perfect relationship. This is episode, 10 or 11? I don't know.
Somewhere I can't keep up with the numbers.
So we're getting there. So we got a new sponsor this week, Starbucks. So not really. People thought
maybe one day.
They thought that we had a sponsorship with
Liquid Death.
Yeah, that's what they thought.
That would be cool.
Like they thought we were sellouts already. It's like, you're just saying that because Liquid Death told you to sell it. I'm like, why did they tell us that?
Now, if you see us rolling up with Liquid Death t-shirts on, then maybe you could believe something, but I would rock one of those.
So before we jump into the episode, I actually had something for you that I thought would be kind of spice things up a little bit here.
You're surprising me with
I'm surprising you with something. So I got a comment from someone on my YouTube channel on the Bulldog Mindset, and I thought this was interesting because I made a video on it, but I wanted to get your take on it. So he said, hey, John, I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend for about 6 months, and I've noticed some consistent behaviors related to her phone usage that are causing me some concern. She keeps her Instagram notifications turned off and mutes no notifications, almost all of her text conversations, including mine, although she's always very quick to respond to me. Additionally, she uses a privacy screen protector and habitually places her phone face down. She explains that she mutes everything to avoid being disturbed by constant notifications and her phone vibrating. I also want to note that I notice she has always had her phone set up like this from the beginning when we first started talking. Okay. She has never given me any reason to doubt her or not trust her in the past, and I understand that everyone has their own preferences regarding phone usage. I'm curious about your perspective on whether these behaviors could be considered a lack of transparency in a relationship, as you often emphasize the importance of openness and honesty in relationships. I'm wondering if this could be a potential red flag. I'm hesitant to bring this up with her, as I don't want to come across as insecure or distrusting. Your perspective on the situation would be greatly valued. So
this is not the topic.
No, this is not the topic. It's just kind of just a random. I was like, because I did a video and I was like, oh, maybe I should see what do you think about that?
Multiple things. So privacy screen to me is just very weird in general.
Yeah, that's the weird one. Yeah.
Are you sending nudes all the time or something? Like, why do you need a privacy screen? Like, are you scared strangers are peering over your shoulder? Like, and then if you're using it for like your partner or you don't want them to see, that's obviously a red flag. So I'm like, privacy screen in general, like,
Now he said that she had it when he first met her.
Right. So that's where I'm like, is she really afraid that like these things are happening? Like that people are peering over her shoulder just wherever she's at, like the grocery store? Because that's very weird to me. I don't know. Like, so I don't get the point of those. But the other stuff, it's kind of tricky because even sometimes with you, I know you're not doing anything, but sometimes you put your phone down like this.
This is my habit because I don't want to disturb.
Sometimes your notifications are silenced or whatever. And I'll be like, why? No, like, I mean, well, that like silence where you don't get notifications. But even sometimes I'm texting you at random points during the day and it's like this person has their phone on silent or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, I wouldn't say that those things are like a red flag.
Right.
The privacy screen, I just don't understand. Yeah. But like, and with men, it's different. If this was like a woman saying this, I'd be like, your intuition is telling you something, which it still might be the case for this guy too. Right. I'm not saying men can't have that, but women just tend to be able to tap into it easier. I mean, if he's concerned where he's noticing it, he needs to have a conversation if he hasn't already. And if she's like, this is just how it is, then to me, I'd be like, okay, now the problem is that this person doesn't even care about what I'm trying to say and is not trying to like either like talk about it or, you know, change things if things need to be changed. So I would say it's not even like all these things that are like a surefire, like, yes, she's doing something shady. It's more so that like, if you talk to her about it and express how you feel about it and she doesn't care, then that is all you need to know right there.
Right. Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because the same with the guy. Like if a girl was like, hey, you have a privacy screen and you're turning your phone over and you have your notifications off. Yeah. And he was just like, you're just being insecure. I'd be like, look, if that's how you're responding to like me just like not coming at you, just being like, hey, like I notice these things and it's probably me like freaking out a little bit, but like it has concerned me. Yeah. If you just freaked out, I'd be like, okay, well that tells me enough. Like I'm not saying that you're guilty, but the fact that you don't care is now the actual issue. Yeah.
The proper answer is my phone password is this. Like, because then it's like, I got nothing. Yeah. So that's the easiest, you know what I mean? Right. So, but I think most people can't actually do that, which is a concern, right? But most people can't actually do that, right? So, I mean, I told him, like I said, based on the privacy filter thing, because the other things, I mean, it's good habit, actually, the other things. Really, we should all turn our notifications off, put our phones down when we're talking to someone face down so that it doesn't show up and you don't get disturbed. So those are all good, like, practices. So there could be really good, valid reasons for it. She could just be a really smart person and conscious of her time.
Well, I don't have a lot of notifications on actually, like, notifications that show up on the app. Like some will come through, you know, like I have some notifications on, but I don't like when I can see almost like the email, how many things are waiting for me. Exactly. So I turn that off because then I feel like I'm clicking that app more. Yeah. It's not to like hide. It's to like keep myself from like constantly being on something, which I'm still constantly on some of the things, but you know, it's just like a helpful thing.
And that's that's why I turn off a lot of my notifications. But the privacy screen thing, then I was like, I mean, she could work a corporate job where she's dealing with financial or sensitive information. That could be, and she's checking her phone. But I think he would know that. The other thing is that
wouldn't you have a work phone, like a separate?
I would think so. Normally? So my thing I suspected was that she's either doing OnlyFans or she's got a sugar daddy or some kind of thing going on that. You know, she had the privacy screen from the very beginning. So, you know, but hey,
I wouldn't go all the way there.
But I was like, this is just a guess. I said, but I don't think that that's accurate. I just said this is something. The only thing that like I would start to possibly think that. But I told him there's 3 ways you can handle the situation.
Well, really quick, it's best not to guess because now you're just putting stuff in his head.
Okay, yeah,
that might not even be true, and now he's gonna freak out even more. Like I said, I feel like the best way to handle it is approach the situation with his actual concerns that he came to you with in a certain way. Like, don't be accusatory, whatever, because you don't know why she has these things. Right. And it sounds like he doesn't know. Right. And then go based on what she says, how she reacts, because you don't know what she's doing. Right. And maybe she is doing those things, but maybe she's not. And if she cares about you, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, here's my password. Like, I didn't want to come across that way.
Then you're good.
Then now you don't have any problems. Yeah. But then if you're already like spiraling, which is what women typically do, so I can come at this. Like, this is what women typically do. They're like, oh God, he's hiding his phone. He's cheating on me with like 5 other women. And sometimes that is true. Sometimes, so I'm not saying that like that might not be a possibility. But if you give him the worst case scenario, it's going to make him spiral even more than he already is about these things.
Yeah. I mean, he should think about it, though, still, because it's still, but I get what you're saying. So,
I mean, everybody should think about it.
I mean, I told him there was 3 possible options, right? And I was like, it's up to you. But I said, number 1, it depends on how much information you want to know, right? If you want to know all the information, if you really want to know what's going on, the only way to do that is to look at her phone when she's not around. Okay. I said I don't necessarily advise this, but I said if you want to know all the information, and the reason why that's the only option to know all the information is because any other option, she's going to know you're onto her and she's going to cover up her tracks, right?
Yeah, but I feel like you should have a conversation first. Well, Because she might just give you her phone.
Okay, based on the fact that she has done nothing else for him to distrust her, that's what I said. I said, I probably wouldn't do number one based on that, right? Because, if there was some other kind of hint of something that was going on, then maybe you need to do your own sleuthing. And I was like, also, look, if you're going to marry someone also, being a little bit of a private eye and like doing a background check, like investigating them a little bit, that's an okay thing to do if you're going to commit your life to someone, right? I mean, they've been together for 6 months. I don't know where he's going with that, but I wouldn't be so like, oh, you shouldn't do that. That's spying.
Yeah, but I think you should have a conversation, because I feel like anybody, if like you didn't have a conversation about like being open and looking at each other's phones, and then you come home and you're like, boyfriend's just digging through your phone.
Yeah, it's a little.
You'd be like, what? Like even if you had nothing to hide, you'd be like, he doesn't trust me in some ways.
Right.
And but if you have the conversation where you're like, we're going to be open in this relationship, like you can look at my phone anytime, I could look at your phone anytime. If I came back home and he was looking at my phone, it wouldn't feel as like a betrayal of trust, because it's open and you already know it's open and it's like.
However, if you're covering your tracks, you already know.
But if you think she's at that extent, then there is other problems.
Well, he didn't have any. That's why I was saying, like, number one is kind of the option that exists if you suspect something, which he didn't suspect anything. So I think, number one is probably not the option. Number two, I told him, depending on how much information you want to know, is you do a out of the blue. Hey, let's look at each other's phones. Right. Like, or you can say, oh, I saw this TikTok where this guy was like doing this loyalty test and they swapped phones. Let's do that. And then see what she does and see if she freaks out. Or just ask to borrow her phone for a minute and see what happens.
This seems so messy to me. That's why I would just be like, have the conversation and based on their response, be like, all right, well, you don't value this relationship. Well, and maybe that makes me too cold of a like cut a person off. But it's like.
I agree with that. But if you ask someone, like, if they don't know it's coming and you say, hey, can I look at your phone? How they respond to that in those few critical seconds will tell you all the information you need to know.
I mean, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I told him, it's like, if you do that one, you're probably going to, like, if she doesn't immediately give you her phone, you're probably going to need to break up with her at that point. Because then you know absolutely that she's hiding something, right? And I said the problem with that option with number two over number one is that you won't know for sure what it was that she was hiding, because now she's going to hide it real good, right? And so you're going to have to just assume that it's something bad. And then number three, the option is to just have the conversation, just to say,
I guess
hey.
I just don't feel like the things that he described are worth like springing something. Like, it's worth having a conversation to me at the level. Like, if he was like, she keeps getting these texts from this one person and then she gets very secretive, that's different.
Well, he can't even see the notifications come up. So that's the thing is, and he can't see her phone because she's got a screen privacy filter. So at that point, it's like, I mean, the thing is, if you have the conversation, like option three, the problem with that, the drawback that I had with that was that you're never going to know. And if she is hiding something, she's going to hide it where you won't find it. So that's the problem with.
I'm like, if you're this worried, is this the person for you?
I mean, no, I mean, anyone would be concerned about those kind of things. It's like, that's the thing about it, is that it's, that it's a hard, well, what I came back to was it's like the episode that we had about the 6 rules of relationship. That's where you messed up, was because you should have this is why I tell people, like, if from the beginning you got the locations on, you got the transparency with the phones, with all the stuff, where there's none of this possible, then you don't have to worry about it. Then it's not, but now he's in a situation where he's got to, it concerns him, so he has to address it in either 1, 2, or 3 of the ways that I said, and none of them look really that great. I mean, there's, pros and cons. But anyways, I just thought it would be interesting to get
complicated.
It's a complicated situation.
What he described is not like red flags, not like huge red flags.
Right.
It depends on what is actually happening, whether they're red flags or not. Because like I said, some people just have these things.
Yeah, it could be totally innocent.
So that's where I'm like, I don't know, going like private eye seems a little like drastic. But at the same time, if he feels like that's the best option he has, then I guess he needs to do it. But I just feel like that, like just straight up doing it. And if she catches you, that's going to cause a whole nother thing. She's going to be like, you don't trust me. And to some degree, she's not wrong because like if you haven't had a conversation about it, about being open and you just find anybody with your phone, you're going to be like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, I agree with
even
that.
if I found my brother with my phone looking through it, I'd be like, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anybody. So it's like, that's going to cause, he just has to know that if he just goes straight and looks at it and gets caught looking at it or whatever, that's going to cause another problem.
Right.
And who knows what might happen if she feels like he doesn't trust her. And I'm not saying, you know, he might not find something and then that's going to cause, again, like he just has to know. I guess my way is like the less messy way is to just like talk. And that's why I guess it appeals to me. Cause like, I don't like having conversations like that. And unless I have to.
Right. Exactly.
But, like if you ask her and she acts like, you know, no, or like, how could you do this? Then that to me would be like, okay, well, you don't care about me or our relationship and about
or
the transparency. And for me, that would just be like, all right, like done. But for him to, he says nothing else is going on or he hasn't told us if anything else is going on, right? But it sounds like this is really bothering him. So I feel like there has to be some sort of distrust that he feels to some level besides just the phone. Because
potentially, either
she's doing it to this extreme where it's causing him to not trust her, or maybe something else happened and these things that he just brought up are now making it seem like more reason not to trust her. So that's why it's like, I don't think there's an easy answer to this.
But we have to go off of what he said, which is that there was no reason to mistrust her. She hasn't done anything. But like I said, the only reason why I even presented the number one option, which I agree is not the best option, is if you really want to know what's going on, that's the only way to know, because any other option, they're going to be on to you and know that you suspect something and they're going to hide their tracks.
Yeah, but just know that could also potentially blow up your relationship too.
It could.
If she feels so violated
for sure
with the trust that now you've broken the trust. By doing that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I said that's why it's a sticky situation. It's better to have not gotten into the situation, right? And I told him, I was like, look, I can imagine being in a committed relationship with someone and not knowing where they are all the time.
Right.
And not knowing what they're doing. Right. You know what I mean? Like, it's like.
Well, and just to care. Like I care when you go on like your little coffee dates with your friends. I'm like, oh, I wonder really what they're talking about, you know, like, and I hope he's having a good time. It's like, it's not about like, where is he? I need to know. Well, like, did he leave the coffee shop with his friend? Like, it's not like that. It's just like, oh, like he's out and he's going to go to the gym and like, then he'll be back home, you know, sort of thing. Like, just caring about what your partner's doing.
Right. Yeah. But knowing enough. I mean, if it's like such a mystery, you don't even know who their friends are, who they're texting or what they're texting. You know what I mean? It's like, that seems weird to be in a committed relationship and not know who they're talking to, what they're doing on their phone. Like, you know, I mean, you know, it just seems we're to me. So anyway, we're ready to get into the topic, the actual topic.
This is about to turn into the whole episode.
So the topic I have for today is, why do women like assholes and losers? And don't say they don't, because we know that it's true, right? So so why?
You want me to answer?
Well, I mean, you're a woman, so tell me why. Why do women like assholes and losers?
I'm just kidding. Well, so, all right, let's start with the asshole thing, because I am going to have a harder time with the losers thing, I think. A little bit, because I feel like it is more typical for women to like assholes over losers, but they do like all the things. So with the assholes, it's very complicated. So I'll start with like a first point, which I think is like something that men need to take away, but don't do it in the asshole way. So the thing about assholes is that they have boundaries. Like they're not going to do what they don't want to do.
Right.
And they're going to speak their mind, even if it comes out horribly, like asshole, like an asshole.
Right.
And so that, like, part of that is important. It is important to have boundaries. It is important to stand up for what you believe in and like have that sort of like, I don't know how to phrase it, like that you stand for something, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's what it is.
Right.
But they do it in the wrong way. They step on all the people, including the girl that they're with a lot of the time, in order to do that. It's very like selfish, very like an asshole is very narcissistic sort of thing, because people classify an asshole as somebody who just does and says what they want and doesn't care about other people.
Right. Yeah.
And it is a delicate balance, because if you care too much about what people think, then you become a people pleaser.
Right.
So you do have to find that in between. But with assholes, it's typically like they don't give a fuck about people's feelings, sort of thing. And so they'll do whatever they want. So you have to find that in between, where it's like you are kind to people, but you don't take shit.
Right. Yeah. Not a nice guy, but a kind guy.
Right. And you have boundaries. You don't let people disrespect you.
Right.
And so that's the thing, is like,
you don't care what other people think, but you care about them.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And the disrespect thing is a huge thing, because an asshole doesn't let anybody disrespect them, but they take it to the extreme, right? But with women, like that, it's hard because they know it's wrong. Like they know they don't like this thing about this person, that he's unkind to other people, but they like that he is, you know, assertive and has these boundaries and like stands up for what he believes in, right? Like to the point where he'll almost like fight people to get to the like prove that point. Right. And the real thing is, you have to have that in between. Like you have to find the middle ground, because you told me earlier, because we talked a little bit about this, that a woman will stay with an asshole, but she won't in the long term. Like it attracts her. Yeah. But eventually, most women,
they find a bigger asshole, and then they change
they get tired of the disrespect.
They like different flavors of asshole.
And then they're like, I'm gonna, I guess you're right. Then they're like, you know, I'm not gonna allow somebody to treat me this way. And then they end up with another asshole guy. Right. Yeah. So like, and maybe it all goes back to like, an asshole seems more manly.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to, as an asshole. Yeah.
And men don't know how to be like a gentleman man type as much anymore. So they just go straight to asshole. And then they're like, well, women like that. And it's like, it's probably because it's the most masculine seeming thing. Yeah. You know, like this guy who like is an asshole and stands up for what he believes in and doesn't take any shit from anybody. It's like, they would rather go to the extreme and get the women, even though like women will eventually like so if you walk into a bar, an asshole walks into a bar and a loser walks into the bar, you already know who's she gonna pick. The guy who is manly enough, that has the qualities of the asshole, but is kind and treats a person right.
She's not gonna pick anybody, because I'm be walking out of that bar.
Well, yeah, like I'm just saying. Pre-marriage.
Okay, but guys don't choose to be assholes, right? So a guy that chooses to be an asshole is a douchebag. Okay, and nobody likes him.
Some guys do choose to be an asshole.
No, they don't
because
choose.
they
no,
think
just,
that it's the right way to be to get women.
No,
and I know
it doesn't
someone's
work.
Gonna clip this part here, and they're gonna be like, "Yes, women do like assholes, John." And I'm doing the voice.
But guys don't choose to be an asshole. They are just assholes, right? That's what's attractive about them, is that that's just how they are. If you try to pretend to be an asshole,
you're saying all men are assholes.
No, I'm saying that it's a primitive version of masculinity that's unfiltered, right? So it's not refined. There's no gentleman aspect to it. It's just the masculinity. Like being a quote alpha male is literally doing what you want whenever you want. That's it. Not giving a fuck. That is the epitome of quote alpha. If you're thinking in those terms, but so it's raw masculinity. But it's not refined. There's no gentleman aspect. There's no consideration of other people. So, if you have a guy that like, let me tell you, plenty of guys have thought I could just be an asshole and then women will be attracted to me. Let me ask guys out there, has that ever worked? Never in the history. I have coached hundreds and hundreds of guys. I have never had one guy be like, Yeah, I started being an asshole, and then chicks are digging me. But I've talked to plenty of guys that are assholes that chicks are all over them, right? And so what I'm saying is that no guy actually chooses to be an asshole and becomes one in order to get girls. He might try, but he looks like a douchebag. Like, there's no way that that's ever going to work. It has to be that you're just an asshole, right? And that's just how you are, which,
Well, there's another aspect to why women like assholes. That was just the first one.
Right.
The next one is that something in their early development has caused them to be attracted to this dysfunctional person, which, yes, I am calling an asshole dysfunctional person because they are.
Right, sure, yeah.
And they're like, I can save him. I can fix him. Like you said with the romance books before, that a woman wants to turn an asshole into a loving man and like a caring man. You know, like that's... They're like, you read these romance novels and then like the asshole guy the girl rolls into town and they're like hate each other. And then by the end, he's like, he only loves her and only her. And so it's like.
But the asshole guy from the romance novel and from Pride and Prejudice and those, right? That asshole guy, this is the difference between that asshole guy. He's got this bristly exterior, right? To everyone else. He just kind of like, get away from me.
Well, even to her at first.
Yeah, even to her at first, right? But then he's got this heart of gold inside, right? And she finds a way to his heart of gold that no one else can reach.
Yeah, but
and then
here's the thing.
But that's not the reality.
That's women think that they think
that they think
they can turn any asshole into the Prince Charming. They think that's not true.
They think there's a heart of gold because that's what they would want.
Right.
But majority of the time, nah.
Right.
There's not. There's just deeper, more asshole. There's just whatever you think would be inside of an asshole. That's inside of an asshole. That's what's inside an asshole. Exactly what you think. Not gold up there.
Yeah, but they have these like fantasies. They read the books and they're like, I can turn him into the Prince Charming. Like it's happened before.
Right.
Or they've had dysfunction in their early childhoods and their early part of their life, or like they had their first real relationship was dysfunctional. And so that's what they're used to. Like there are, like it is something to be said that people do get stuck in these cycles of dating the same type of person.
Daddy issues, that kind of thing. Yeah.
All the things, like all the issues can stem from somebody choosing to be with somebody that treats them poorly.
Right.
And it's not like I'm not trying to say like women are choosing to be treated this way.
No.
But it's like, from someone who's also been stuck in cycles that are non-beneficial, it is usually a cycle that these women get stuck in.
Right.
Because like you said, they go from one asshole to the next asshole and then they're like, why can't I date a nice guy for once? And then they do date the nice guy and then they're like, they're missing the like attraction that they had to this masculine asshole guy.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm saying that you have to be best of both
the unicorn.
worlds.
Yeah, the unicorn.
Like you have to romance and be a man and be assertive and have your boundaries and, be that guy.
But let's talk about the cycles for a minute, because I think this is worth a side note. It's like, why do people get trapped in cycles? And I have a pretty good theory on that, which is that I believe that when let's say a woman dating an asshole, she dates the asshole, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. She knows he's not good for her. She's like, I'm never doing this again. This is some bull crap. Like next guy I find is going to treat me right, treat me with respect, not cheat on me, not do all these things, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. Not verbally abuse me, definitely not physically abuse me, right? And then what happens is though that archetype, that person, she never got the validation because she never got what she wanted from that. So the only thing that can give her validation is to find that exact thing again. And this time it turns out good. And we're like that as humans. Like it's not just with relationships, it's with things, but a lot of times even in friendships or, you know what I mean? A guy will get into a relationship with a woman that cheats on him, and then he gets another relationship with a girl that cheats on him. He's like, I just have bad luck, or women just like to cheat on me. No, it's because you're specifically seeking out that archetype in order to... You're still
doing the same things, expecting the different result with the same people.
But we have this hope, like, it's like the really angry basketball coach that just like calls you names and just, but he's the only person who can actually give you that. When he says good job, it's meaningful. Whereas other people are like,
Well,
good job. You're like, I don't care. Like,
'cause
shut up, get out of here.
It's
asshole.
also
Like,
because those
like,
people typically
right.
tell you
Right.
worse things all the time. So
Right.
when they tell you one nice thing, it like
Right.
feels like it means a lot more.
Right.
But it doesn't.
No, but that's what we're seeking, that validation from the person who we can't get it from.
Right,
And that's why we're trying to
exactly.
close that loop instead of letting it go. And that's why we get stuck in the cycles.
Right. No, yeah, that makes sense. But I feel like those two things,
Yeah.
it's like the confusion of like, this is a man
Right.
with the assholeness is what attracts women to them. And then the cycles of, like you said, like
Getting in.
needing the validation from, or like
Right.
feeling like, well, this time I'm going to convert this guy into my Prince Charming, you know, like those sort of things. Like that, I would say, is the main reason that women date assholes.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Yeah, and I think there's a difference though between the dating and the liking as well. So like, because if you have the dysfunction in the cycles, you could date someone, stay in a relationship with something that's bad, like an abusive relationship, but the liking is like almost a hardwired type of thing. Is like,
but I feel like women
that's the
too will be
masculinity.
like, why do I like this guy? He's like not even that nice.
Well,
So like they,
yeah.
and maybe liking them, it's just the polarity of like this seemingly masculine person.
right.
But then them also knowing that, well, this person doesn't treat people well either though.
Right.
And that's what they don't like about them. Like, because a woman has never liked an asshole truly for who he is, because most women will tell you, even if they're dating an asshole, that the guy's an asshole or that they like an asshole. They're like,
Right.
I know he's not the nicest person, but I just don't know why I'm attracted to him. And I think it's something that they can't explain. It's like
Right.
the polarity, like we've talked about before,
Right.
is what's attracting them, but they realize that they don't even really like him as a person, really, because he doesn't know how to treat people well.
Exactly. Yeah. It's an idealistic, like wanting, like liking them as a person, whereas it's not
Right.
the actual, like it's what you want the person to be. You're projecting that onto them.
Well, and women, like I didn't know that men do this as much too until you and I got together, but women are people who try to be fixers.
Yeah.
They try to
Yeah.
fix men and they
Right.
like, and that's too, I guess, can segue into the losers because they think that they can fix them. Like they think that they can help them, or like they'll be like, oh, well, you know, like, why don't you go get a job like this? And they'll be like, I don't really want to, you know. And she's like, well, you know, come on, like I can help you do this, and
Right.
you know, we can figure it out. So she's like, I feel like when a girl likes a loser, it's almost like she's trying to help him. It's like two sides of the same coin,
Okay,
right? Like two extremes.
Right.
Like here, she's trying to like almost tame this man, the asshole.
Right.
And then here, she's almost trying to like nurture
Mother
him
him
into,
up.
mother
Yeah.
him,
Yeah,
like be a
exactly.
mom.
Right.
And so it's still, I feel like both of those things, now that we're talking about it, stem from this like need to fix people or like want to fix people.
Right.
Or like help
Like a
them.
nurture. Yeah.
You know, I mean, like it's the motherly,
It's the feminine,
nurturing,
right? The feminine
side of
aspect
us. Like
it.
we
right?
raise
That's attracted
children.
to the masculine, right? And so that's why the assholes and the losers who tend to have a raw sense of masculinity tend to attract feminine women who want their counterpart, but it doesn't work out well because it's it's the same thing as like an extremely feminine woman that's unrefined, doesn't have any, you could say dark feminine or dark masculine that just, is full of emotion, but anger and rage and, just, doesn't control that in any way or doesn't have the positive outlet of emotion. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Well, it makes sense. I think I would agree with what you said. It comes down to that assholes and losers, what they have in common is that they're selfish. And they're just,
Well, yeah, and that women
And that's an
want
attractive
to fix them
to be-
because
yeah.
it's I don't know, like because I guess I've dated both of those people, and just looking back, it's like it's just been from like you care about this person,
Right.
and you know that them being one way or the other, that it isn't fully what you want, but there's a part of you that's like, I can fix this person. I can make him into what I want. And women get really stuck in that.
Well, but then if you're like, if I can make him into what I want, then there's the other part. So it's the rare part that you are able to get in that person, right? So when a woman finds an asshole or a loser that she's attracted to, she's picking dirt up because there's something shiny, there's something more rare in that, right? Which I think is that what you're saying is that masculine element. Because in the sea of men today, so many men are just pussies and just they have no spine or no backbone. They're just completely, you can walk over them, you can push them over. They're completely controlled by their sexual desires. You can have anything from them just by tempting them, right? So many men fall into that when you see an asshole or a loser type of guy that exhibits these traits, that's the rare thing. And so you're like, well, if I can just fix that other part that's not so rare, like there's plenty of good guys, so why can't I just make him into be a good guy?
Right.
And it's like, but it doesn't work. So
yeah, because I mean, I feel like it is, women are more these days into making a man into what she wants rather than trying to find one, because it's so hard. It's so hard to find the perfect guy that she'd rather take an asshole and try to make him into a gentleman or take a loser and try to make him into this like successful man than like search for the person.
Which is
Does
funny
that make sense?
because it should be the opposite. Because a woman making a man into what she wants, very small chance.
I agree with you.
Right? But men are throwing out perfectly good women saying she's not already what I want.
Right.
Whereas a woman will be influenced by a man. If a woman finds a good man in her life, she will start to change her life and grow and flirt. Not all women, right? I mean, obviously you still have to have a good stock, but what I'm saying is that a man has a much better chance. Men are out here throwing out women. They're like, oh, Western women, they're all feminists and all this stuff, and it's like they're all worthless hoes and all this stuff, right? You hear the language that these guys use, and I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on, like you can't just throw out all Western women.
But here's why women feel like they have to build their man.
Why?
Because, and you've seen this today, there are really not a lot of good men. And so you have to take what you can get and try to make him in to the man that you want, because look at all the men on social media whining and complaining. Like, is she going to wait around for this guy? Like, no, she's going to like just take this little whiny baby man who I would say is a loser and try to make him into more of a man, because she's like looking at this like, okay, well, he's not taking the initiative to be better and to better himself and be the man that he could be. So, maybe I can motivate him to be that guy if I'm with him and like, making sure he's like going to work on time or applying for a better job. Like, it's not going to make sense to men, but like you just said, though, that's all women can do. Like, or they think that they can do.
Yeah, they think they can do.
Because like they're seeing all these guys that, I'm not going to lie, are not desirable. Like all the guys who are whining and complaining on social media and things like that, or even you go on a date and they're whining and complaining to you on the date about
shots fired.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. They're whining and complaining to you about something. Yeah. It's like,
no, I agree with you.
She has to be like, okay, well, he's obviously not trying to better himself because he just wants to whine and complain.
Yeah.
So maybe I can get him to this point by like, using my femininity or like my sexuality to get him to be this person. It doesn't work.
Right. No, it doesn't
like
work.
It doesn't work. Yeah. But women have to take their lives into their own hands because they don't trust men anymore to be those men. So they try to take the asshole and rehabilitate him into a nice guy, or like bring out some sort of kindness, not a nice guy, a kind guy, but bring out some sort of kindness in him. Or they try to take the loser guy and help him get like better opportunities to be better in that way.
So here's the question then, right? So then why not take the nice guy? He's already a good guy. He's got good personality, right? He will love you to pieces, right? He'll treat you well, right? Why not take that guy and then shape him into what you want? Why do women never choose that option?
Because I feel like what nice guys are missing is what assholes have, like I said in the beginning, right? And it's like, as a woman, for her to teach you to have balls, you're not going to respect her.
Right. Yeah.
That's why.
Right.
Like,
That's true. Yeah.
she cannot teach you how to have balls. That's why she'd rather take the guy who has balls and is using them the wrong way.
Right.
And give him a little kindness, like teach him a little kindness. Or this loser guy, which I mean, like, most of the time they're nice guys too. But maybe they think they're acting this way because they don't have a good job. So maybe if I get them a good job and they feel more confident in themselves, they'll naturally get it. Right. You know what I mean? But with a nice guy, usually they're missing the boundaries and the like standing up for something and like the wanting to protect. And a woman can't teach a man that. Like, she'll protect herself, but she will emasculate you by teaching you those things. And she doesn't want that either. Right. She doesn't want, the second she teaches a man how to have balls, that man's not going to respect her, even if she accomplishes it.
Right. Right.
And she's not going to be attracted to him because she taught you how to have balls.
So I guess it's almost kind of breaks it down into, there's two components of this. There's what is attractive, right? What causes like a sexual attraction.
Which that's the like masculinity, the like being the man part that an asshole has.
And what's desirable in a person, in a relationship. Right. And it's
which
like,
is, you know, the kindness and the caring and the loving, like, you know, that's like what the romance books, like we talked about. It's like this bristly asshole guy, but really inside he cares, but he still has boundaries. Like, you know, he still is a man.
Right. So I mean, I guess the advice to guys then is to have balls and overall things, right? Like,
and don't allow a woman to teach you how to have balls. Right. To teach yourself how to have balls.
She won't teach you how to have balls. She'll just take your balls, put them in the jar there for safekeeping for, you know, someday when you need them back.
But don't be an asshole. Right. Because like, women are attracted to assholes, but they know they shouldn't be, and they do wake up eventually.
And they, like, if you're not already an asshole, trying to be an asshole never works. It won't get you the women. It won't do anything. It just makes you look more desperate and more, because now you're changing yourself in order to get something. Whereas the whole point of the asshole is that he's not changing himself. That's why he's attractive. Is because this is who I am. Like,
but also, if you are an asshole, like,
well, you need to reform yourself. Right.
Who you are completely.
Right. You're being who you are, like, unapologetically. But the assholeness part of it is not. That's like just not having tact is not who you are, right? You can still be direct, assertive, aggressive. You can have a differing of opinion. You can tell people no, but you can have tact. Right.
Nobody should be blurting out everything that just comes to their mind. Right. Because everybody, like you said, can be an asshole. Right. Like, even the kindest of people have probably thoughts that seem assholey at times. Sure. Yeah. But it's just like, they don't classify those thoughts as them.
Right. Exactly.
They just classify them as thoughts. So yeah, it's complicated, but I feel like I did a pretty good job at explaining. It's hard. No, right? I know. Because I don't know all the answers, but I feel like that is kind of how women would perceive what we're talking about, is that, you know, it is a lot goes into women trying to make a man into the man that she wants. Right. And so she does typically maybe pick these extremes because it's harder to take a kind guy or like a nice guy and give him the like balls of being a man.
Exactly.
And that's usually what they're missing, is that, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like,
having the balls, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the guts to go out and like protect or like like stand firm in what you believe in, and like, you know, those sort of attributes.
It's the not giving a fuck what other people think. That's what it is. It's the being selfish. Like, being selfish is actually an attractive trait for men to have, because it means that they, like, look, if you're going to choose a guy to be with, right? Because women are about survival, right? That's built into women, is this instinctual, I need to survive, right? Look, choose a selfish guy. Why? Because he's going to survive. Because he's going to make sure he gets his. Like if there's an end of the world apocalypse,
But he can't
he's
be
not
too
gonna be like,
selfish, or he'll be the only one surviving.
As long as he's with you, as long as you know what I'm saying. It's like as long as you're his woman, right, and you're together, then you stand a better chance being with a selfish guy. Not saying that like that selfishness. It's more of like when women see a man that's selfish. They're seeing a guy that they know is going to fight, is going to like take what's his, is not going to let someone take advantage of him, and they want to pair up with that guy. So it's not like a selfish trait. She doesn't want him to be selfish to her. He wants him to be selfish to the rest of the world. Like it's like, don't give away my stuff. Like, let's survive here.
Protecting.
Right? So, exactly. Right.
Yeah. Well, would there be anything else that you would add why you think that women are attracted to these type of guys?
I mean, I think that's what it is. It's that idea of the guy. He is what he is. He doesn't try to be something else. He's unapologetic. He says what he wants. Right? He's not afraid of the consequences of he's willing to accept the consequences.
What about the loser guys?
The loser guy sometimes falls in that same category. What's the difference between an asshole and a loser? The loser is an asshole as well, right? He just happens to be an asshole that's so dysfunctional that he can't make any money, and he's but he's probably got those traits. I mean, no woman goes to the trailer park to to visit a guy, to be with a guy that isn't at least having those other traits. I mean, he's got to at least be good looking probably too, right? So it's like you got to have some of those things that are going to attract a woman. But I think the loser, he's also in the same boat, right? It's like, because you think about loser, it's like, okay, well, what about like he's maybe a criminal or a drug dealer or something like that, right? So those are attractive. Why? Right? Because that guy's
They're
dealing
dangerous.
with, right? They're dangerous, but he's dealing with danger, right? So it's like that's a person that
He's
right.
involved in that,
right?
putting himself out there.
But I think the thing that what it comes down to, and I think there's this misconception, but is that guys figure in their head, they're like, all right, well, it's like nice guy or asshole,
Right.
And they're like, and again, you can't change your types, because if you try to change your types, it's not going to work either, right? So it's like, just women. They don't like nice guys. They like assholes. They're attracted to assholes.
But
right?
everybody has a little asshole in them. They just need to harness that.
I'm just saying that it's so there's this thing where guys are like, all right, well, she'll be like sexually attracted to the asshole, but she might like marry the nice guy. He protects, he provides, whatever. Like, he's a resource provider, right? And so they get this into their head that this is how it is. And to some degree, that does play out in reality, because a lot of women are like, I can't find, I'm just going to settle for the nice guy because I want a family and kids and
she wants love and romance.
Right.
But she wants that from the asshole guy too, but he doesn't care enough.
Right, but she doesn't have the raw sexual attraction for the nice guy, and she never does. And so she's unsatisfied in that, right? Or she, hooks up with the asshole, and then, that's also unsatisfying in a different way. Mm-hmm. But the reality of the situation is, even though that does play out, is that those components do not have to be separate, right? Because she's getting one thing from this guy, one thing from this guy. Mm-hmm. Those things can be joined in one guy. It's just that guys have it in their head. It's polarized in their head, where they believe it's nice guy or asshole.
One or the other.
Right. And they don't understand that it's not the asshole.
A gentleman is both.
Right.
He's gentle, but he's a man.
Exactly. That's what it is
and
to be.
John can teach you how to be a gentleman. Because he's a very good one. I told my lash lady the other day, I was like, not to like toot my own horn because I married him, but John is an amazing man. Like, he is a good man. So.
Well, you give me too much credit, but.
No, it's true.
Okay. Well, I'll take it then. But no, but seriously though, like, I think that is the thing, is that both men and women are confused on this aspect, that because there are very few guys that are able to join the two together, because they have divided it in their head. And that's why it's such a, such a problem, is that even when guys hear this, they're like, oh yeah, see, I knew women are attracted to, they like the bad boy, the dangerous. But that's all they hear.
That's the issue too, is like, if that's all you're taking from this, then you're going to be in the same boat that you've always been. Right. But if you listen to this and you want to actually get dates and better yourself, then listen to what we have to say. Like, harness that like assholeness, like be a little selfish, obviously within the boundaries.
Exactly.
Like, like we said, nobody wants like a full-blown asshole. Like, don't go overboard with it, but just have boundaries, stand in what you believe in, even if other people don't like it or whatever, and you'll get there. But if you hear this and all you hear is, see, women do like assholes, and then period, that's where you leave it, then I'm not getting on the pity party boohoo train.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, is that's what it comes down to, is because, like I said, guys are going to hear it and they're going to think, okay, well, that's, and then they think, well, a woman will, because women will say, right, not what you're saying usually, women will say, oh, I like a guy that has a good personality, that's funny, that's charming, that treats me nice.
They do want all those things.
But then they date a guy that's the opposite of those things. And then guys are jaded, rightfully so, and they're like, what is
that's
this shit?
That's because that guy doesn't exist.
So she's like, all women say bullshit. They're just tell me some bullshit. This is not even true. They say they want this nice guy. They say they want a guy that treats them well. They date this fucking guy that just killed his hamster, whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's like a violent criminal jerk guy who doesn't even have a job, right? And they're like, I don't understand why women keep on telling me these things, but it's like I said.
But the thing is, they're also not really all those things that they think they are. Because if you're that upset about this, you're not those things.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you might have a few, and the thing is, she wants all those things. Men like that don't exist really anymore. Like a gentleman doesn't. A guy who has everything doesn't exist. That's why she's going to pick somebody that has the extreme of maybe what she's really looking for, like that attraction, right? Like, so many of my friends would go on dates and they'd be like, I don't know, the like chemistry's off. Like, I don't have this connection to him. So women really do value that instant like attraction, or like that magnetic feeling of the femininity and the masculinity.
For sure, right, yeah.
They just don't know what it is. They think it's an asshole, but it's really that dynamic. So that pulls them into the asshole. And then they are there and they're like, oh, well, I don't like this person because he actually sucks. So if a woman takes at least like the guy who like instantly drew her in, and she can try to make him into that guy who's like nice and whatever. She already knows she has the attraction part and the connection, what women also might call it. She can try to get him the other things.
And see, but this is why guys get pissed, right? Because they listen to a woman. She's like, yeah, I want a nice, a kind guy that treats me right, that, would open the door for me, buy me flowers, like all this stuff, right? Again, I'm exaggerating, but basically the non-asshole traits. So then the guy's like, oh, I can be that. So he goes on a date with the girl, he gets some flowers for her, he opens the door, he treats her super respectfully and super well. And she's like, I just... he messaged her for the second date and she's like, yeah, I just don't feel like there's much chemistry, right? And then he's like, this is what women said that they want. Like, they actually want me to be an asshole and treat them badly. No, they do want
that,
I know.
The other things on top of it,
But you can understand why men are like, they get pissed off at this, because if women are telling you want this and then you're doing exactly what she wants, then you're like, I don't get it. Like, what is going on? But then she, after the date with you, she goes and
I guess
the asshole comes over in his motorcycle and we'll go into graphic details there, but that's what the guy, that's their experience. And so, but again, I mean, I can tell you, we both know why.
I guess women need to start telling men to be men then, because like, I guess women just stopped throwing that in there because they thought it was a given that a man would act masculine. And now, though, that's the opposite. So maybe women do need to be like, I want a masculine man, so that these guys who are upset won't get upset. Because I feel like they used to leave that part out because they just assumed that a man would be a man or be an asshole or be a little more selfish. So they'd be like, I want this stuff too, like the flowers and the, nice text messages or whatever. Like, that's why they throw those things in there. It's not because that's all that they need. Like, but back then it would be a given that a man was going to act like a man. And now it's not the case.
Well, and women say all men are assholes. And that's where these guys get super offended too, is because they're like, what? And the answer is,
well, no, we've changed it to all men suck.
Okay. Or all men suck. Right. And then guys like, what the heck?
But they suck because they're crying and complaining.
It's only the ones that they're dating, right? That women are dating. But it's only the only men that exist to women are the ones that women see as a man, which means that he has masculine traits. The other ones, they're ignoring those.
Well,
so they're saying any man
not wrong.
that is actually masculine, that is actually stands up and is a man, he's an asshole or he sucks, because that's their experience. And that's the only ones that they actually see. The rest of you guys are boys.
Right.
And that's unfortunately the truth. And that's why the nice guy is the boy. A woman doesn't even care to insult the nice guy because she doesn't even see him as a man at all. And so that she sees him as a boy. And that's the thing, right?
Here's the thing, right? And like, okay, I understand I might be coming off not empathetic. Like,
no, I'm not even saying that.
I am just tired of all the like complaining on our stuff, but whatever. But here's the real thing, right? Like, I hear what you're saying. And I do have empathy for the guys who are really trying and they are kind and they care and they just haven't found their person.
But they got to get their balls, right?
The thing though is like women have, and I know that it was our doing, and I think it is good for us. Yeah. And I think it's good for men because it will make men have to step up again. Yeah. But women have had to be on their own and fend for themselves and figure things out. And so like the complaining is just such a turnoff because if women are out here getting the shit done by themselves and figuring it out, and I know it's different because men they want sex and women want relationships and women can get sex and, you know, whatever. Yeah. But like if we're not out here complaining about all this stuff, we're not going to want a man that's complaining. And like, I just want men to know that a step in the direction that you want to go in is to stop complaining, especially publicly, because yes, a woman's not going to like see your comment and like go on a date with you and know that it was you. Right. But I guarantee you, if you're complaining on like social media, you're going to go on a date and give off that same energy. Exactly. You can't like have it one place and not have it another place. And so what might be even throwing you off is your complaining. And I feel like the second you stop complaining so much and just go out and do what you need to do, you get more masculine. You get more asshole. You get more polarity. Like when you go from like stop complaining to just taking go out and
responsibility.
Do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
You get more masculine.
Well, let me give you look, the complaining thing is absolutely right. And I'll tell you why, right? Because here's the thing. A real man takes his lumps, okay? And he doesn't bitch about it. He just takes his lumps, right? So, you know, if I got into a fight or something, you know, someone gave me a black eye and someone is like, oh, what happened to your eye? But like, I just, you know, I hit myself or whatever, you know, it's like I heard, I bumped into something, you know, I'm not going to be like, some guy hit me. Can you believe he hit me? Oh my God. Like, and it hurt so bad, you know, I mean, I'm complaining about it, right? And especially if a woman gave me a black eye. Right. I'm definitely not going to I'm definitely not going to be talking about that. I'm definitely not going to be just telling the world. Right. But see, that's a physical black eye. But a lot of guys got these emotional black eyes from women and they're just telling all the world about it. Like some woman beat me up. Does that make you look like more of a man? It makes you look like a fucking pussy. It really does. I mean, explicit language on this one, but you see what I'm saying is it's like, but as a man, you suck it up. You get some lumps. You take the lumps. You don't complain about it. You don't whine about it. You move on. You try to avoid, pissing off the big guy at the bar next time. But you don't whine and cry about it. And if a woman gives you some lumps, again, same thing. You move on. You learn your lessons from life. Like, all right, maybe I should avoid that type of woman. Right. And that's it. But you don't bitch about it.
Right. Well, and what men don't realize, the same thing that they hate, where women are like, all men suck or all men are horrible. Right. Men do that. Like with their complaining, this one woman left me on a date, so all women are horrible, and I'm going to complain about it. And like, they only care about looks, and picking and choosing what to like harp on for the rest of your life is the exact same as women being like, all men suck. Right. Like, and it's the same. They're doing the exact same thing that they're supposedly so upset about. They're so upset that women only want this one thing. They're so upset that this is how life is. Right. But that's what they're doing. Like, they're creating that.
And see, you know, the thing about the asshole and the loser, I'll tell you what it is also like, because it's just made me realize it's like, they have a worldview of how things are. and no one's going to tell them it's different. That's it. It's how I think it is. This is how it is, right? And that's the difference, right? Because these guys are letting someone else influence their worldview, all this kind of bullshit, and that's why they're complaining and whining. But if you're a man and you're like, I'm the shit, I don't care if you think that or not, like, this is the reality. Like, I am the shit, right? Like, you can go and suck eggs if you think some other shit or whatever. Again, you take that too far and you don't care about other people, you become the asshole. Right. But that's the essence of the thing, of the masculinity, is like, this is how it is.
Right.
And I don't give a fuck if you believe it or you think it or not, because this is a fucking reality and this is how it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's
as long as it is, like, because it
not
is
shaken,
important
not
to take
shaken,
in.
well, not shaken, not to have your worldview shaken by someone else.
Yeah.
Because that's what the asshole has, right?
Yeah,
I mean, think about it.
That's dangerous for men too, because if you do get new information, you should be able to change your stance. And men might hear what you just said and realize, nope, they could be like, the sky is green. And then you'll be like, no, actually, here's a scientific article. And they'll be like, John told me that no matter what I thought, that's true. I'm only saying this because guys do take it to the extreme. Well, I understand you're saying the extreme because you want to get these nice guys to do this.
Well, that's not even contradictory to what I'm saying. I'm saying that, look, if the information comes in and you have to revise your viewpoint, that doesn't matter. It's like you're still worldview. Like the worldview of who you are, it doesn't change. Like, you know your value, you know who you are. Hey, if I said the sky is green yesterday and now I'm wrong and I say, okay, well, it's blue, that was still the right thing for me to do. Like, I'm still
diminish your value.
Right. It didn't exactly. I'm still the man. You know what I'm saying?
You
It's
have
like
to stand in your
like,
value.
Like, if you're like, hey, yesterday you said it was green and now some new information came in and you said it's blue. I'm like, so? Right, it doesn't matter, right? You see what I'm saying?
I
It's
guess
like
that's
still
the
stuck
key,
in your
value,
right? In your
like
value.
you have to know what you bring to the table, as people like to say, and that even if somebody asks you, like, well, that's not enough, then you realize they don't deserve to sit at your table,
right? But if you're whining and complaining and thinking about, oh, women like, you know, the chat or they only like the assholes or all of that stuff, then you're obviously not that. Right. Like that's I think that's where you're getting it. That's why it's so unattractive, because you're just filtering it out. You're just already saying, look, I don't have any of these qualities. Right.
No, actually, as a woman, if you see a man complaining like that, you're like, he already has problems.
Right.
And then we're going to get in a relationship and then there's going to be relationship problems. Like, and he can't even handle his like view of the world.
Right.
How can he handle life? How can he handle our life? How can he handle my life in his hands?
Exactly.
So that's what I need men to understand.
Well, the biggest, I guess we should wrap it up, but the biggest like trigger for a woman, right, that she should look for, and I think I said this before on the podcast too, but I think it's worth repeating, is that a man who has anger issues, biggest red flag, because, man, especially if you want to have children, because children will piss you off. Like, you think a woman will piss you off? See what a 2-year-old will do. And if a guy can't control his anger, right, that should be the biggest turn, and it is a turnoff. That's why guys complain when they're verbally showing your anger. They're like, because he's not in control of his emotions. Because a powerful man, which is what a woman wants, that cannot control his anger is a dangerous man. Not in the way that women want a dangerous man. Women want a dangerous man. They want a dangerous man that, on the external, that dangerous to other people. Like, don't mess with us. They don't want a dangerous man dangerous to her, and her children. Definitely not. So
that's true.
Yeah. All right. I guess that's.
I totally forgot that it was my turn for the thing of the week. So I'm gonna like figure out something here. So we had a talk the other night, and you know, we were just talking about how some of our personal dynamics had like changed since we got together, and I think those things, without going like too much into detail, because I just don't feel like the full detail of it is necessary. But it, like, this kind of affected our confidence in ourselves that we had before. And so we were both kind of trying to give each other something when our
tanks
levels were zero. Right. And it's like, it wasn't as big of a deal as I feel like I'm making it into be like,
no,
the situation, but, or like how I'm explaining it.
Right.
But we just realized that in this aspect, we had nothing left to give each other. And we were both really trying to give each other what the other needed. And we physically could not in the way that each other wanted because of our tanks being zero.
Right.
And so we've had to almost do like a kind of reset or like come up on a reset in order to fill our tanks back up.
Yeah.
And I thought, and also too, we came at it from a loving place. Our conversation in regards to this was very connected in love, which, we've talked about how
all right, future John, good job. You did good. Like now you can watch this episode and be like, all right, yeah, there we go.
Well, we've talked about how we don't always follow our own advice sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Not on purpose, but
and then we watch this segment of the podcast and we're like, oh yeah, struggling with damn shit.
We did good. We did good this time. So I feel like it's been a lot more beneficial.
Yeah.
To come from a place of love and staying connected. And we already did that because we never yelled at each other or whatever.
No, it wasn't ever.
But we still had an issue with that. But, when we were talking about the low tank levels, it was all a very loving conversation.
And I think it's worth mentioning the tank levels, even though some of the details are, whatever, but because it's helpful to people, right? So it's I think what we came up with, which was actually pretty good, is that a man's tank of his, I would say, feeling like a man, and we'll say that, it's the confidence, but it's feeling like a man, right? In a relationship, is from the his feeling of the sexual desire that a woman gives him in the relationship fills up that tank, right? Whereas a woman's tank is the acceptance, which is love, right? The feeling of love, of accepted no matter who she is or whatever she does, the full 100% acceptance that there's not a time that the man's withholding the love or turning the love, that she can't lose that love, right?
And I don't want people to think that we didn't have those things.
No, because we did have both of those things, yeah.
Yeah, it just, because they were opposing forces, it kept our tanks from being full. So, those things were happening.
Right.
But because of the I don't know how to describe it.
I mean, you can just be look, if I say, hey, you're if I say it in a rough way, or not the most tactful way, I'd like you to show me more sexual desire, right? And then you're like, oh, well, you're not accepting me. You know what I'm saying? So now that feels like you're not accepting me because, and then it's you become to a gridlock, a standstill, right? Because now it's this person, the woman's trying to get a feeling of full 100% acceptance. The man's trying to get this other thing, and these things are at an impasse.
And you don't have confidence when you don't feel accepted.
Right.
And then you can't give full sexual desire when you're not confident.
Because you don't feel like a woman.
And then you don't feel confident.
Right.
And so that's making you disconnected from me because you feel like I'm not giving you something. So that's where it was at. So, but again, I just didn't want people to think that
we don't,
we're having these nothing's happening.
No, yeah.
Because
definitely.
that's not the case.
No.
But because of these opposing forces, we weren't able to fill each other's tanks even. And so we had to come to the decision to do a full reset to alleviate, any pressure from the non-acceptance and, alleviate the, this I guess from your side, I don't know, from your side, I guess I have a hard time to explaining how the
dynamic, so I don't know. I mean, just the you just have to have both people stop trying to get the thing for some time in order to just naturally get the things, both of the things, right?
It was
because
turning it
both
into
things,
an unnatural
right
experience,
exactly,
because it was the tanks were so low that you were desperately needing this, and then I was desperately needing this.
Right.
And when you desperately need something, it's not natural anymore.
Exactly. Right.
So that's what it was.
Right. So so I think we could probably even do a whole episode on just the idea of the tanks, and because I think that is a struggle for a lot of people, and I think a lot of people just give up on that, right? And again, like you said, it's not to say that.
But I think that's the thing, right? It's not we weren't doing the things. Like,
right. Exactly.
if anybody heard how actually like our sexual life is, they'd be like,
it's like,
we hate you guys.
Yeah, exactly. They'd
like,
be like,
stop
we hate
complaining.
You. Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
So like, that's the thing too, is like, it doesn't have to be the extreme that most couples face where they're not having sex.
Right.
Like, and the whole thing was too, I wanted you to feel desired in the way that made you feel desired, because I would do stuff
right.
that I thought made you feel desired, but it didn't. And so that's, I guess, a better explanation of what we're talking about is that. And then too, from not having as much confidence because I didn't feel like accepted. Right. I didn't feel like I could show you all the things because then I was afraid that it would be wrong because I'd been wrong about how to make you feel desired.
Because now if you're afraid of being wrong all the time, like if you could make a mistake,
then
that comes from not feeling fully accepted.
Right.
And that's where the whole gridlock comes from. Is because now you can't act in the way that's natural and I can't act in the way that's natural. And so we're both, but it seems, I think for someone who actually was like able to see through our walls, they'd be like, are you guys absolutely?
They would be really pissed off, actually.
Yeah, they'd be like,
you guys are complaining just like you're complaining about those boys.
Yeah, exactly. But it's something that we know and we feel even if we, because,
But it's not complaining because we took the actions
exactly.
to make it better.
Right,
and so that's the difference.
Yeah. So that's it. There we go.
Through every fault we